Denver Mayor Mike Johnston and staff used an encryption app called Signal to discuss migrant crisis, then auto-deleted messages. This was because of Trump policies prompted the move. Let's get into it. Let's see what this complete lack of transparency looks like in Denver. Here we go. Shockingly, this topic has gotten virtually zero press coverage.
The mayor and his top appointees have been using an encryption app to communicate for months.
They've used it to send and receive messages about immigration issues. Then those internal messages were intentionally deleted by the mayor's office. Brian Moss joining us with the latest on this investigation tonight.
And Brian, you say the mayor was directly involved with this.
The mayor was involved with it.
Of course he was.
Along with 14 of his top advisors, appointees, and attorneys in his administration. Mike Johnston pledged to be a transparent mayor, said that was one of the fundamentals of his administration. But open records experts say what we've uncovered here was the opposite of transparency. Johnston's administration says their actions were because of President Trump and how his administration was dealing with Denver.
So the way that the Trump administration was communicating to you necessitated you pulling an illegal move. Is that what I'm hearing? Illegal move from the standpoint of you got to retain these records. Constituents have a right to know, hey, what are you guys doing? Oh, I can't really tell you because, we used Signal and it auto-deleted and yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for inviting me to testify today.
When Mayor Mike Johnston
we covered that
testified before a congressional committee this month about immigration issues in Denver.
So if Denver can find a way to put aside our ideological differences long enough to manage a crisis we didn't choose or create.
There's something these congressional representatives didn't know.
It is deeply offensive to me.
CBS has learned Johnston and his administration had been using Signal, an encrypted messaging app, to communicate amongst themselves about immigration issues, and initially has set the app up to automatically delete their conversations.
It's unlawful, and it's breaking the law, and it deprives us of the rights we have as Coloradans to observe the conduct of public business.
Steven Zansberg, a Denver attorney specializing in First Amendment issues, reviewed what our investigation uncovered. Through open records requests, we obtained these text messages. The mayor's director of strategic initiatives, Joshua Posner, sent on January 15th to multiple members of the mayor's administration, telling all of them the same thing. We're going to use Signal to communicate with Strikeforce so that communication remains encrypted and secure. And messages auto-delete, wrote Posner. Please let me know once you have it downloaded so I can add you to the group. The Denver Strikeforce group messaging on Signal consisted of the mayor, his chief of staff, deputy chief of staff, and a dozen other appointees, including the city attorney, according to the mayor's office.
Pretty clear and unequivocal.
This is a step up from that whole debacle we had in Seattle after Chop Chaz, where you've got the fire chiefs, you got the chief of police, you got the mayor. I don't know what happened to the settings on my iPhone. They got changed, and all of a sudden, all messages beyond 30 days got deleted. I don't know. It was really weird. I dropped my phone in the ocean, dropped it in Puget Sound. That was literally one of the excuses. They didn't want to provide full transparency. Mike Johnston, he wants to hide his communications because what they're talking about is illegal, and he knew it wouldn't look good. So, hey, let's go down this roadway of Signal. I don't know if you use Signal, but I use Signal. And I have stuff I want to talk about, and I'm like, all right. Most of the folks that I communicate with, they're on Signal, so we use that a fair amount. If you really need to have a conversation, you just don't want to have it go through your regular text messaging or email or whatever, it's an option. Mike Johnston knew the option too. Hey, set it up with that auto delete. The minute we talk about this, boop, it's gone. Complete violation of records keeping, complete violation of transparency.
Well, evidence that this was a deliberate, intentional effort to evade transparency by using self-deleting ephemeral messaging apps.
Zansberg believes what was done may have violated city data retention policies, suggesting these kinds of records
absolutely
kept for 3 years. Strikeforce was the name given to the mayor's leadership group that was dealing with Denver's immigration crisis, a crisis that attracted the attention of this conservative legal group affiliated with the Trump administration, which sent this harshly worded letter to Johnston in late December, demanding information and internal communications on how city officials were responding to immigration issues. A spokesman for the mayor now conceding the Trump pressure is why they opted for encrypted auto-delete messaging. When President Trump
he made us do it.
In January, it was clear that there would be rapidly developing changes to the way the federal government interacts with cities that could have significant impacts on how Denver operates, said the spokesman.
We had a wide open southern border. And just thousands of criminal illegals just coming into the country. We needed a rapid transition. That's what happened. And then these knuckleheads in these big sanctuary cities are like, oh, we can't let them know what we're thinking about because we're trying to hide the criminal illegal aliens from law enforcement, trying to hide them from ICE. How do we do that if we're just disclosing everything? Oh, we don't. Let's go on Signal, guys. Here we go.
Concealing, hiding, I think that's what it's doing.
Jeff Roberts of Colorado's Freedom of Information Coalition says what we found undermines the spirit of Colorado's open records law, which allows the public to view public records.
The public needs to be informed about that story.
In another text conversation, the mayor's chief of staff, Jen Ritter, is asked, are you on Signal? Mind if we shift there?
Let's shift there.
Switch there, responds Ritter.
Yeah.
Giving the impression that we're doing something that we don't want the public to see.
Across the country, government leaders have been heavily criticized for using encryption apps to discuss public policy issues. Michigan even passed a law forbidding state employees from using apps like Signal that make messages disappear. And as recently as December, Denver's chief information security officer emailed the mayor's office, telling them apps like Signal were for personal use only. Please avoid using these applications for city work, wrote the city's top tech expert. The mayor and his office refused to be interviewed for this report.
Shocker.
They provided a written statement saying the particular group was started in January for internal staff to easily keep track of and share information regarding federal actions that impact Denver under the new administration. The purpose of the group is solely for information sharing, not actionable directive.
I don't know that matters. I don't think that really has any impact on what the law states, which is if you are interacting in a position that you were elected to, then that information needs to be available to the public. And if you're using it on Signal and you're talking about pretty important stuff like the criminal illegal aliens that you're harboring in your city, and you know damn well that the Trump administration is not going to look kindly on that, then you've just literally circumvented freedom of information. You've literally circumvented that by using an app. Now, a lot of people will say, the purpose of the group is solely for information sharing. That's right. We need to be able to see what you're sharing so we know what the hell is going on. Not that hard to figure out, right? Not that hard to find accountability, find transparency. It's like, show us what you were doing. I'd love to know what you were talking about. Let's see those. Oh, you can't because you lost them. You lost your phone in Puget Sound. I keep harping on that one because it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. You continually see Democrats talk about transparency, and then this kind of stuff comes up, and you're like, wait a minute. There's zero transparency there. Zero. Let's keep going.
The group is solely for information sharing, not actionable directive, said the statement. The city says 2 weeks after the Strikeforce group was created, the administrator turned off Signal's auto-delete function. A spokesperson for the Federal Administration disputes that they violated any data retention policies. And Karen and Michael, Denver Police Chief Ron Thomas and Manager Safety Armando Saldate were also invited and asked to be part of this Signal group. They both declined.
Oh, is this a shocker? No, this is not a shocker by any stretch of the imagination. I love the quote here. Spokesperson for Johnston said that the Signal messaging was prompted by President Trump and how his administration could have significant impacts on how Denver operates. So your standard move is to go to an illegal communication platform? That's your move? That's your move so that we can't really have an idea of the back and forth that's going on behind closed doors. Literally everything that Republicans have been saying about Democrats, lack of transparency. Hey, what are you guys talking about? What are you guys doing? Who are you trying to protect with all these criminal illegal aliens? We love all of our citizens. Yeah, righto. The use of such messaging apps by government officials has been controversial. Controversial? It literally violates freedom of information, record keeping, and viewed as a way to avoid public disclosure of government decision making. Hey, if we want to go off the record, just go on Signal. Use the Signal app. Michigan, after state police leaders were found in 2021 to be using Signal on state-issued phones, state lawmakers outlawed the use of encrypted messaging on state phones because it violates record keeping. Yeah. What happened with all the violations of record keeping in Seattle after Chop and Chaz? Nothing. Mayor didn't run for re-election. Our chief of police, Carmen Best, she quit. She said, I'm not sticking around if you guys are defunding my salary. F you guys. She was out of there. You got the fire chief. Well, his phone was, some IT guy worked on it. Just this long litany of people who had zero accountability for all those text messages going back and forth on the whole Chop deal. And that's because there's a lot of liability and the city doesn't want to take responsibility for letting an active area of Seattle be unpatrolled by police. Just anything goes. Hey, it'll be great. This will be the summer of love. Till 2 black kids got killed at a Black Lives Matter, big scale rally. And they got murdered. And then people are, oh, good Lord, that's not good. Well, same thing here with Mike Johnston. He just doesn't want to have anybody question why he's doing what he's doing because he's doing some illegal stuff. Guaranteed. Otherwise, you have nothing to hide. If you are playing by the rules, if you are playing above board, doesn't matter what Trump throws at you. You can still disclose that stuff, but they don't want to, do they? They do not want to disclose what they're talking about. Hey, let's switch on over to Signal. Let's just go on over there. This is not transparent, said Roberts. According to Johnston's daily calendar obtained through an open record request, on January 14th, 2025, he convened a strike force introduction meeting. Got a strike force going on. Strike force against what? You are literally doing a strike force against ICE deporting criminal illegal aliens from your community. What do you need a strike force for? Asking for a friend, right? Following day, January 15th, text messages obtained by CBS News Colorado via an open records request show Johnston's director of strategic initiatives, Joshua Posner, sent an identical text message to multiple members of the administration saying, we're going to use Signal to communicate with Strike Force. The communication remains encrypted. Why would you want to say that you need to have your communication remain encrypted? How is that transparent? How is that going down the road of, well, we just want everybody to be able to see what we're doing because, we're so on board with transparency and secure and messages auto delete, goes on to say. He sent the staff members a link to download Signal saying that once that was done, I can add you to the group. These people knew what they were doing was wrong. They went ahead and they chose to do it anyway. They know that protecting criminal illegal aliens within their community is wrong, but they choose to do it anyway. See the pattern here? Yeah, crazy. Signal is a messaging app that encrypts communications. It also automatically deletes messages. I do not have that set, the auto delete, because I don't know. City has confirmed that Johnston's group was auto-deleting their initial internal messages. Mayor's spokesperson said the auto-deletions went from January 15 to January 24 when they set to retain the messages for 4 weeks. And then on January 29th, they disabled the delete function entirely. Okay, and then just stopped messaging. Mayor's spokesperson, Jordan Fuja, said the strike force group is still in use when there are relevant updates that impact Denver. Okay. All right. But you're probably retaining them. And so that you can say, oh, yeah, transparency, you betcha. 2 thumbs up. This is just a bunch of nonsense. This is a bunch of politicians who don't want to be held accountable for their actions because they know what they're doing is wrong. And when people hold them up, for accountability, they're like, oh, good Lord. No, we don't want that. We can't have that. We need to be able to hide and do our backroom deals. She declined to make the mayor or anyone else available for an interview on the Signal messaging. Interesting. So you're literally telling me that this is all about transparency, but then when it comes down to an interview, you got nothing. You got nothing. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Yeah, that seems to be the case, doesn't it? The Johnston administration's move to make their communications more difficult to access came about 3 weeks after America First Legal. We heard him talk about that. Trump-affiliated legal group. Do we need to have Doge step into this? Do we need to have Doge just get to the bottom of this? It seems like we do, right? I think we should have Doge look at everything. Everything. Just, oh yeah, you betcha. Yeah, give all your information to Doge, let them run train, and we'll just see what they come up with, because they seem to be coming up with an awful lot of shenanigans that were put in place by the last administration, right? So part of the request demanded all records, including communications, calendar entries, and documents mentioning or belonging to Mike Johnston, mayor, since November 1st, 2024. And then Fuja has the written statement. He said the move to Signal was because, here we go. When President Trump took office in January, it was clear that it would be rapidly developing changes to the way the federal government interacts with cities that could have significant impacts on how Denver operates. So you pulled an illegal move? This is your justification for that? Is that correct? The particular group was started in January for internal staff to easily keep track and share information regarding federal actions that impact Denver under the new administration. You could have just done a group chat on regular old text. Oh, but no, those records would have been kept. Yeah, because you're all on iPhones, I'm sure. And you've got your city IT person that's, don't delete, it's illegal. But if they're on Signal and they're auto-deleted, I don't know what happened on that message. It's gone. It's like, oh, okay. All communication just gone. But it's like this individual says that, things are moving quickly, therefore we had to do an illegal move. And you're left with, okay, what else illegal are you doing? What else are you covering up? What else do you have going on that you want zero part of transparency towards? What else you got going on? I'm curious. I'd like to know. I say we send in Doge. Robert said the internal text messages and move to Signal show they are giving the impression that we're doing something we don't want the public to see. Why else would you use Signal? You wouldn't, because regular text messaging is enough. It's easier, right? You got to download a whole app, go on there, and, put your information in, get up and running, figure out how the whole, messaging, it's like any other app. But then you've got the option, hey, let's just delete this after we have these conversations because you know what we're talking about. I don't want others to find out. There are records the public should never see. He suggested the Johnson administration was intentionally concealing and hiding. Yeah, they were. Absolutely. And there's zero defense for this. Zero defense for this. You got somebody saying it's unlawful and breaking the law. It deprives us of the rights we have as Coloradans. We heard him say that, to observe the conduct of public business. Typically 3 years is a standard records retention. I seem to remember that from the whole Chop Chaz thing too. Hey, you keep all those texts regarding Chop? No, tech guy, he did something on my phone and all the messages are gone. I don't know. Happens 4 out of 4 times. I think there was literally like 7 officials that somehow their records just, all those text messages just gone. Yeah, dog ate it. Dog ate my homework, right? Mayor spokesperson disputed that, saying the city retention schedule does not obligate city employees to retain electronic mail messages. It doesn't? Are you sure? Because I think you need to check on that. Because if that were true, you would have had somebody come on board with the reporter covering this and saying, oh yeah, no, here's what we did. All right. So explain to me what you did and why you did it with a straight face, telling me that that's part of transparency. The whole move to Signal is just an avoidance of transparency, right? Just, yeah. I mean, hey, let's switch there. Here's another quote I love. So the police chief and manager of public safety were both asked by the mayor's office to join in Signal, and they said, no, I don't think so. Probably because they knew it was illegal. The purpose of the group is solely for information sharing, not actionable directions, so there's no need for safety leaders to be a part of it. You're talking about harboring criminal illegal aliens? Protecting criminals within your community, and there's no purpose for safety leaders. Number one, your mayor. I mean, number one, your chief of police doesn't need to be involved with how the criminal legal aliens are extracted from your community. Police chief and public safety officer don't need to know that. That's interesting. Huh. Because I would think that they would be the people heading this type of a deal. But they're not. Yeah. Records show, though, that safety leader Sheriff Elias Diggins, along with Matt Mueller, Denver's emergency manager, and Wendy Shea, an attorney for the Department of Safety, were asked to join and did so. All right. Zandsberg said that what is now being revealed is ultimately very toxic and creates greater distrust and a lack of confidence. Will there be any accountability? No. Why is that? Well, because this is Denver. It's a big Democrat city. And they want to talk about accountability. They want to talk about transparency. They want to talk about doing the right things. But when it comes right down to it, they just want to do whatever the F they want to do without any real transparency, without any real accountability, and just go on about their lives and basically say, F you to the public. Yeah, we're not going to do any interviews on that. I mean, this is just, it was just a chat app we used. It was internal. It wasn't an actionable item. And you're left with, yeah, you're talking about stuff, making decisions on behalf of your constituents. And we should be able to get that information. We should be able to get that back and forth. But because you decided to use an illegal communications app, then the public just gets screwed. Pretty standard. Pretty standard. All right, Tristan, I'm going to do the outro here. So what will ultimately come of this? Nothing. 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 Just a bunch of nonsense, right? Just a bunch of nonsense. But it's an indication of when you hear people say on the left, we really believe in transparency and we really believe in accountability, the storyline doesn't exactly support that theory, does it? No. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.